Yeah, move on, yeah, if you can. Okay, so thank you everybody. As I said, you know, nerves are good, and thank you Dan for explaining that. I didn't realise how long I'd actually written it. Okay, so I'm not actually going to talk about myself because you can buy my book, which I wrote back in 2018. All donations go to charity, Sane and also myself. All right, what I'm going to talk about is what Heads for Minds the charity offers, but I'm going to do some examples and analogies. I had a great one-to-one with Mark, and he gave me a few tips and ideas. So I want you to be, the first thing is mental health first aid training, spotting signs and symptoms, okay? So I want you to be really honest with me when I ask you these questions, all right? So all stand up. Okay, so if you were walking down the street and someone fell over and they cut themselves and they were bleeding, would you go and help them? Sit down if you would. Excellent, that's good. So physical, something happens physical. Okay, stand up. If you were walking down the street, and I want you to be really open and honest with me about this, and you saw someone that was acting like they were drunk, they were perhaps talking to themselves, they were shouting, looked like potentially on drugs, would you go and help them or would you cross the road? And be honest with me. Sit down if you would. What? Sit down if you would help them. Stay standing if you perhaps would cross the road because you're unsure what's going on. I want you to be really honest because you don't know what's going on, do you? All right, thank you. So can you see there's a mix? All right. I'm very grateful that someone spotted the signs and symptoms because that was me in psychosis. All right, my diagnosis is bipolar and that's why I do what I do. All right, it is so important to spot signs and symptoms because I have been sectioned probably about 10 times because of psychosis and displaying these kind of behaviours in the street. My goodness. So to everyone I would probably look like I was drunk on drugs. All right, but it's psychosis. It's one of the things there's such a lack of education about, and I'm very thankful that because of mental health first aid training that I deliver, you can spot signs and symptoms, all right? And thankfully, I'm still here to do that, all right? My diagnosis is bipolar, and there's been a lot of judgment and stigma that I've faced in my life. That's why I wrote a book, because life is a roller coaster. We all have mental health. And I cannot begin to tell you how important it is about, let me put my book up again, spotting signs and symptoms, because you could actually save someone's life. So within the charity, I not only just deliver mental health first aid training for adults, I do it for youth as well. The suicide rates have gone up. I have got statistics, whether I get enough time to show them, I'll show you. I also do alternative therapy. So this is another analogy. Okay, this is, say, your mindset, okay? So, look, I'm shaking, oh my goodness. Okay, potentially, you have trauma that perhaps in your past. Now, that could be relationship breakups, that could be anything, all right? It's in your mindset. So then, you have a dink on the car or something like that, all right? So then, your mindset fills up, but you're not releasing it. So you're not actually talking about it or finding helpful strategies to release it. Then you perhaps, I don't know, work, something goes wrong with work. You're still not talking about it, you're still not releasing it, finding ways to manage it. All right, do you get my gist? So what's happening is your mind is getting fuller and fuller, more stressed, and you're not releasing it. All right, and then to the point, I won't do it because it'll overflow, but it becomes your emotional snap. And then we become irritable, we're angry, we're biting people's head off. I bite my partner's head off. But it's about recognising before you get to that. Therapy is so important, all right? Speaking to someone, we offer that as a charity, all right? It's what works for you, all right? That's part of what we deliver, okay? And I know because I've lived it, all right? And I've come out the other side. I'm no longer on medication, and I've got the ability to manage my bipolar, whether it's through the depression or whether it's through the psychosis, all right? So I cannot begin to tell you how important your mindset is. It's huge, and if you get it right and you learn helpful strategies to release the pressure that's going on and the stress you get, it's quite incredible how it works. Okay, sorry, you have to go back for a sec. No, sorry, back. Mindset workshops we offer for children. I'm a very, very firm believer that if we reach out to our younger generation, we could actually stop a mental health condition manifesting further. I deal with children from the age of 5. They might not be able to talk about, but I've actually discovered through role play or creative art what's going on in their life. All right, because sometimes people don't want to share because it's something very emotional and personal to you. And there's a lot of judgment, there's a lot of stigma and discrimination out there. And that's one of the main reasons why people don't talk about how they feel, their mental health. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. I've just showed you an analogy about physical and mental. People don't know what to say, they're frightened, all right? But please talk out about it. The more I've spoken out about my bipolar, my goodness, all right, people have become more accepting because they can see I run my own charity. I'm not on medication, I've got through it, but I've had to face my demons and deal with it in order to do it, all right? But here we go, buy my book again so you can find out about me. Nothing like plugging it, all right, there you go again. The other analogy I've got is this one. How much time have I got left?
You've got...
About 4 minutes.
You've got 3:37.
That's all right. Okay, so this is toothpaste, as you can see. Now, my challenge is, if I ask you, you can't use anything else. If I basically put the whole of the toothpaste out, all right, the challenge is, you can't use anything else. How would you put the toothpaste back into here?
You can't.
You can't, right? So think about the language and communication you use. Once it comes out of your mouth, you can't put it back in. So if you can't say anything nice to somebody, don't say anything at all. We've heard that in I can't even say it, the statement. All right, it's so important. I nicked this from someone else, by the way, but it's so true. If you think about when we were younger, the language that was used, pull your socks up, stop crying, stop being a crybaby. Why do you think the suicide rate is so high, especially with men?
Boys don't cry.
All right, it's huge, okay, and it's frightening. With the stats, there is actually, you hear the suicide rates are actually higher than road traffic accidents. Think how many times you hear about the M25 or the A12, all right? 16 people a day take their own life, and we don't hear about it. I hear about it because I'm within that field, and it breaks my heart. Seriously, mental health is massive, and you don't realise if you spot signs and symptoms, you could actually save someone's life, and I've done that. And it's such a good feeling to help someone and support people. We need to look after ourselves. We need to look after our self-care, mental health. You can see 50% of mental health challenges are established by the age of 14, 75% by the age of 24. Braintree, Colchester and Clacton are one of the highest crisis levels, Colchester especially. As I said, suicide rates are higher than road traffic accidents. Mental health challenges cost the UK economy 117 billion, all right? That's through work, you know, people coming off work and things like that. And 69% of people in corporate firms or even schools, they look at employee wellbeing as a core skill, but only 13% have received training. Mental health first aid training is so important. In 2019, the health and safety guidelines were changed to recommend that every school, every corporate company should have someone that's trained in mental health first aid. Only 13% of companies have that at the moment. We need to spot signs and symptoms. We need to start talking about something and not making people feel like they can't share how they are and be their true selves, all right? Judgment and discrimination is one of the biggest things why people don't talk about. Just move on. Okay, how you can support the charity? Buy my book. Yeah, buy my book. Okay,
It's your book.
and that was done 3 years ago, and believe me, I've turned my life around even more. It's probably, people keep saying about me writing another book. That is the nice version, by the way. I wouldn't even give you some of the stuff what I've been through. And I'm not saying about, oh, woe me, it's nothing about that. But we do go through shit and challenges in our life. But building resilience, you can and will get through it. All right? Lottery, thank you for those who have done the lottery for me. I really appreciate it. Please, anybody else who hasn't. Mental health first aid courses, come on. I have Lewis and George. Thank you for coming on it. I hope you found it beneficial. Fundraising, let's do some events and bless you. Do some events. Workshops. I do family workshops. I do loads of mindset workshops, and I raise people's vibration. My nickname is Tigger. All right, it is Tigger because life is for living, and I love raising people's vibration. But I have been down there. I have been in depression. I have been in psychosis. But I've come out the other side, and I want to help others. Raising awareness. Please raise awareness about mental health and well-being and mental health first aid. It's so important. All right, and thank you. Thank you so much.